Whenever we discuss or study British Raj of India, a little chapter often escape our notice. It is the subject of Indian money lenders who financed and gave loans to British government and officers. A new book, The Anarchy, the Relentless Rise of the East India Company, written by Scottish historian William Dalrymple, has said that a major reason for the success of East India Company, which colonized the country between 1600 and 1857, was the support it got from Indian financiers or moneylenders, including Jagat Seth of Calcutta, Gokul Das of Banaras, and other Hindu bankers of Patna and Allahabad. They were called Mahajan and Shroff. East India Company as a corporation issued shares and several British politicians owned shares in it. But for short-time liquidity issues, company needed funds. That fund was provided by Indian moneylenders who were mostly Hindu. The common practice in the Indian trade was for the company's officers to buy Indian goods on credit by issuing bills of exchange. The goods were shipped to London where a twice yearly sale was held, which raised the money for the company to meet the bills whenever they fell due. By 1720, the debt to moneylenders was about 50 lakh rupees without interest. Between 1718 and 1730, the company borrowed 3 lakh rupees a year from Jagat Seth. Jagat Seth was the biggest and the main creditor, and he had offices throughout India. These loans at a 12% interest a year got larger and larger. As soon as English silver arrived in port, the merchants and the moneylenders would demand payment. But who was Jagat Seth? Jagat Seth family were of a Rajasthani Jain descent who came to Patna, Bihar in 17th century. Jagat Seth was not a name, it was a title given to the family by Mughal Emperor Farrukhsiyar in return for their financial assistance. By 18th century, Jagat Seth family was the largest banking house in India. Bengal Nawabs used Jagat Seth's connection to pay the annual tributes to the Mughals of Delhi. When Maratha forces raided Bengal, they plundered 2 crore and 50 lakh rupees from Jagat Seth's mansion. Jagat Seth's influence started to decline after Siraj-ud-Dowla became the Nawab of Bengal. Due to Jagat Seth's active collaboration with Clive Lloyd and Mir Jafar, Siraj-ud-Dowla was defeated in the Battle of Plassey. Jagat Seth family saw a decline in fortune after this and lost all the wealth by end of 19th century. Meanwhile, for years, companies' employees used to siphon off money by issuing excess bills and pocketing the difference. In 1770, East India Company's directors had given permission for 212,000 pound worth of bills to be issued. But the company's officers in India issued bills to the value of 1 million pounds. When the goods purchased with these bills were sold in the company's London sales of 1771 and 1772, there was insufficient profit from the sales to redeem the bills. The shortfall was several £100,000. The company was effectively bankrupt and was unable to borrow on the markets due to a Europe-wide credit crisis. For several years, the British government had received an annual £400,000 payment from the East India Company as a contribution to the military assistance rendered in India by the King's troops and navy. But with the company's finances suddenly in ruins, the payment was stopped. And in a desperate attempt to stop the crisis, the government offered the company a conditional loan by bond of £400,000. The government was terrified of the financial consequences to the nation if the company failed. Eventually, the loan was forced upon a company by statute. As a condition of the loan, the company was prohibited from accepting in excess of 300,000 annually in bills of exchange issued by its officers in India. In an attempt to help the company through its financial difficulties, the British government in 1773 absolved the company of the domestic duty on tea. At the same time, it insisted that this duty should continue to be paid by the Americans. The Boston Tea Party followed, and it led to United States independence from British control. The new regulations fixed the excess loan problem of East India Company. At the same time, the influence of Indian moneylenders began to decline. But the 1861 Civil War in America brought new opportunities for Indian moneylenders. Deprived of American cotton, British traders began giving advances to the moneylenders to secure cotton crops for next season. The moneylenders, flush with excess cash, began giving loans to peasants. Property or land was often secured against these loans. When the peasants could not pay off the high interests, their lands were confiscated and they were forced to work there as laborers. This system gave rise to a new class of exploitive moneylenders who, due to their contacts with British government and ownership of the land, enjoyed unprecedented power. This unfair and exploitive system gave rise to several riots by peasants in British India and shaped the anti-British sentiment within general Indian population.